Hello and welcome to our weekly webinar. We're so excited you guys are joining us today. Today's Friday, April 9th. It's ridiculous. If you're watching from the future, thanks for registering and joining. Sorry for the little delay. We'll just give you some time after. We're super excited for this assignment. Hi, Jen, how are you?
Hi, I'm awesome. I'm really excited about this assignment. Thanks everyone for joining us.
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. And yeah, we'll just discover more things that we left unexplored about these artists and also about the pigment yellow. I got my image printed out. I think this is going to be an excellent exercise to practice different values of color. And I love the fact that it's so strange and weird. And also it feels very contemporary and modern. And we are going to open up a little bit or expand the menu of possibilities with this. So don't feel like this is just going to be like this and that's all. We'll see how this will unfold and how you're going to take it. Because we have a background, the background is blank, and I feel like there could be some possibilities there. But just gonna jump right ahead. Yes, I think so. I haven't set up the palette, but there's so much to talk about before that. And yeah, I'm using, let me just change the view and let's just get started essentially. Hold on a second. Here we go. I'm going to talk about the format. Okay, so I think that's okay. I'm using 12 by 16 rectangular and portrait orientation. Three things about your format. Always try to list your format because it's going to help you retrofit, recreate, translate the image that you may have. And so, yeah, and I'm using, my painting surface is cotton paper. So it's porous, but not as porous as other surfaces. So take that into account as well, because that's going to be important. I was able to go out and print this image. So I have it side by side. You don't have to have this if you're using a screen to reference your subject, then that also works out. So it wasn't easy to find images, actually. I thought we were just gonna put yellow plastic containers from Ghana and then a bunch of things would come up. So it wasn't the case, actually. It wasn't the case. And we were a little bit astounded, astounded by the fact that there are not that many stock images of this container. Considering that it's so prevalent in the country, and also considering that this artist is doing such an amazing job bringing attention to this issue, to this problem. Well, the images that we found are images of either the artist or also people in Ghana using it for or carrying it, or so. Yeah, I love the fact that this is a low resolution image, so it's blurry, it's not sharp, and sometimes that is a good thing when we have it as a reference, just because we can then create more of a painterly, or we have more of an open space to recreate. Oops. More of an open space to recreate. Sorry. And yeah, let me just kind of like do this. Anyhow, so all right, I'm gonna start sketching, and this is the first options. Even though we're using the same reference image, we have different possibilities in regards of like arranging it. I'm gonna keep it simple and balanced. Remember, the principles of composition that are the most important are movement, how much space you leave around the focal point, in order to avoid obstruction by the viewer wandering around visually on your painting. So movement and also focal point. This is easy. There's only one focal point, so that's going to simplify everything. So I think I'm just going to keep it. I'm going to keep it maybe the same. Yeah, the same size. So I'm going to make a decision right here. I'm going to leave a little bit more space on top. So perhaps what I'll do is lower this a tad. So even though this is simple, this is actually a great opportunity to revisit some of the principles that we talked about and some of the criteria. And I'm just gonna, in 1 second, I think I'm just gonna go, yeah, a little bit higher, But I'm making my first decisions, a little bit more space above than below, and still keeping the movement around. So this will be it. We're so happy, and I'm so happy that I have finally a yardstick. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do my first scaffolding lines in order to find out if that's gonna work on my paper. And I think I'm okay with that. I want to just leave a little bit of space above. So I think, yeah, I think that's okay. Let me see. Okay, yeah, everything's working, right? Jen, you can hear me, right? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you're good, friend. I know it looks weird. It says oh, sorry, can you hear me as I'm screaming? It says Ruthless Painter's connecting to audio and can't hear you yet. And I was going to tell you about it, but we can hear you fine.
Okay, perfect.
And if there's anyone, please give me a shout out on the chat if anyone's having trouble, but I think we're okay.
Okay, yeah. And I am just changing the microphone. Yeah, okay, perfect. So it's a little bit clearer, perhaps. All right. So moving forward, yeah, I'm just going to actually, what I'm going to do, since I have the yardstick, I'm actually going to measure this. So yeah, why not? So let me see, how can I do this? Yeah. So 8 inches. So I'm just going to actually, yeah, I'm just going to measure this more or less. Okay. So I'm going to have maybe a little bit less on the right side. Okay, this is my scaffolding. I think I'm okay with, yeah, I think I'm okay with this. And then I'll just put 4.5, maybe. Yeah, I'll just do that. So a few lines. All right, so anything, I'm just setting up my verticals first. I'm not doing any horizontal lines. Should I do the potato shape? Maybe I should do the potato shape. Yes. So I'm just gonna do the potato shape, which is very simple right here. Yeah, and then, yeah, here's my potato shape. I'm just gonna follow the same premises because I feel like that will help me understand the perspective and the arrangement within the space. I think that's good. Okay, so I'm just gonna continue. And now I'm gonna do the structural lines, the lines that I see inside that I feel like could break up. I think this is the most important, the corner. And then I will do the red cap. I'm excited about practicing yellow values. And we posted it on Instagram, but we just came across this article. I don't know if you saw that, but we were just, someone wrote something about everyone now thinking about changing their sheets to mustard and yellow turmeric color. And it was just really interesting because, yeah, we have been thinking about that. And then we got some responses from people that went down that road of considering incorporating this color, this yellow. It's a yellow that has some red in it, so it becomes a little bit more grounding. It's not like just yellow, but apparently we've been having this pink phase that lasted so many years. And now we're moving on collectively towards yellows. So the article slash essay was actually quite interesting. Anyhow, so the cap, I think that's okay. I just noticed that the cap just falls in the middle of this corner. And yeah, at the beginning, when I was reading about the artist, I thought that currently in Ghana, the huge percentage of the population still doesn't have running water, and this is still being used at the time. But then it's not super clear, actually. I just had to put things together. Apparently, that's not the case today. It was the case in the 2000s because there was a situation in which the country that didn't have the capability to provide running water to its people, even though Ghana apparently, as I mentioned in the presentation, has plenty of water. So this is now garbage, and people use it as they use the containers to store other liquids, like gas, for example, or gasoline, cooking oil. Still, people, some people still keep it to store other kinds of liquids, but not water. And I think that's important because to point out that they don't have currently this situation, but they do have like a big problem with the plastic accumulating in their natural environment. And this was a copy. They made a mold of a container in a German military, from a German military vehicle, apparently. Even though it was the British who colonized the country for many years. So I don't know what that connection is. I think before the British, I think the first ones were the Portuguese that just went in. And then after the Portuguese, I just don't know. So maybe Jen, you can, I had to make sure that I was able to geographically locate the country. Let's kind of like start from that point. I wasn't sure. The country changed its name. So that's why I had to look, because I wasn't familiar exactly where it was. So yeah. I also, if you want, Jen, I think I brought some images, but there is an artist. I didn't have time to mention this, but there's an artist from Ghana as well. He's now 75, I believe. It is in the folder, the image folder. His name is Ibrahim. I don't know the last name, but he's actually more famous than Serge in the sense that he was one of the first artists to use recycled materials to create art. And I remember seeing his work for the first time at the Saatchi Gallery in London a long time ago. And he used bottle caps to create this tapestry that feels very luxurious, almost like lame fabric. So I know I posted an image of this artist on the folder, but if you can find images of the work, we can just share them later. So I'm starting to also do the shading. And this is going to be interesting because we have a clear light direction. And then I'm just going to remove the scaffolding. I want to make sure that I just have the object. so some of the interviews, some of the things that the articles about him don't quite explain. And I feel like I just read it between the lines. Yes, Jen. Oh, never mind.
Oh, no, I was clicking off. Sorry, I realized I was on.
Okay. No. So there is this interest because, he talks about his association with yellow and wealth. So this is something that he brings up in at least one of the interviews, that yellow for him is a favorite color because it just represents wealth, gold, something expensive and a very high-end commodity. So this association with yellow and wealth and power, I feel like it's very important. And it tells me that what he's trying to do, I mean, he's been doing this for years, obviously more than 16 years, is to elevate an object that doesn't have value at all to the category of something that has a lot of value, because he feels like one of the things that could solve the problem of this pollution is by not only by playing with scarcity, the fact that he's trying to amass as many containers as possible in order for the containers to raise value themselves. But also the idea of turning them into a highly appreciated commodity. And I just feel like, even though we didn't have time to talk about this in the presentation, I feel like using a traditional language, painting, that is associated with wealth and the Renaissance, whatever you want to call it, the very specific part of the world, and with a very specific purpose, sometimes to lecture or educate. It's been used by religion. It's been used by governing entities to project an idea of power and divine intervention. So painting is a very loaded language. But I feel like us doing an oil painting of this, in a way, that's in my head, obviously, in a way contributes to this idea of elevating this to a more expensive commodity. So I don't know. So that's another reason why we're using this as a subject, not just because of all the things that symbolize or that are symbols associated with the object, but also trying to also raise the stakes of the value of this plastic thing by painting it, doing a still life with oil, in oil, like a very classic way of approaching a subject. Instead of painting royalty, instead of painting high society, instead of painting highly or very wealthy still lifes with glass and fine china and all these sort of like Renaissance like arranged like sophisticated still lifes, we're painting this. And this is my first suggestion. Speaking of Renaissance still lifes, which were a way of displaying the power and the wealth and the influence of their owners, if you can picture it in visually, you'll hopefully associate Renaissance still lifes with very dark backgrounds. So one of the options for this is to actually turn this into more of a Renaissance style painting and do a black background on it to create this idea almost. I think, Jen, you brought up a Velasquez painting with 4 different pots. Maybe if you can find that painting, we can use it as a reference. I think it was Diego Velázquez, and there were 4 um, ceramic pots on a shelf in a very dark background.
Okay. Cool.
So that's the first. That's the first approach that came to my mind in regards of how to do the background in order to accentuate the concept. Notes that we've been sharing this past few weeks. The concept is the point, not the craft. That's also something very important because we put too much emphasis on craft, which means how well we paint something, how accurate it is, how realistic it is. So that is not the point ultimately, even though it feels like, that's the most important thing. It's only a vehicle to express our concept. So at some point in our lives as painters, we will get confronted by that thing. We're learning, we're practicing, we are introducing new colors, we are gaining experience, and that shows in each and every painting. But at some point on this journey, it will not be enough. We will be asked, or we'll ask of ourselves, what's the point of all this knowledge and experience that I accumulated? What am I going to do with it? So I feel like that's when the concept or the idea of concept takes relevance. That's it. That's the word, relevance. Concept is the point, not craft. So since this is a very simple subject, let's kind of like explore that idea of making something painterly, pictorial, maybe highly detailed, I don't know. And then think of backgrounds that could amplify this idea of wealth and power and dignified and influence. All right. I am done talking. Maybe not. I'm just going to do this. All right. So things to observe on this composition. We have a cast shadow. We have the umbra, but that's it. We don't have the penumbra or the antumbra. I just love these words. So I'm just going to say them, mention them. The umbra is the darkest, closest shadow to the point of contact. So that's the only thing we have. We have a little bit of a penumbra right on this side. So maybe we could just consider that as the object's penumbra. I think I'm going to do that. And in that sense, Jen, if you can, and if it's so maybe some examples of Renaissance still lifes on that have like maybe a heavy chiaroscuro, like super dark background and very I don't know. I mean, that to me seems the best reference for this. In fact, that could be another painting. Just do the Velasquez pottery and replace one of the pots with this. That could be a extremely powerful conceptual.
That would be beautiful.
Did you find it?
No. I mean, I'm still working on Ibra.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how you say it. I'm just saying that would be a beautiful.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
What's the word? Thing.
Yeah, and there was an interview with a curator that was talking about how this is not an unusual thing for artists in colonized territories. Let's just put it like that because it's around the world. Colonized territories, how they're still grappling with their dark histories. And contemporary artists are using themes in order to heal or bring out, make sure that history doesn't fade in the memory of people.
Right.
So Ibrahim also does something similar. This is trash. It's garbage that he uses. The idea of big power going in and stealing the resources of the country and leaving the trash behind. And these artists are using that trash to grapple or about those effects. So the bottle caps, they look like very expensive fabrics. And none of the articles that I read about this artist with the plastic thing makes a connection with Ibrahim and this guy. And this guy is 35, Ibrahim is 75. I'm pretty sure, there is some sort of like connection, I would want to say, because the work is essentially similar in the sense of recycling garbage. I'm so happy about this container right now. So I'm just gonna go ahead and create my palette, which I didn't do. And I sent a note saying that I have no idea, we have no idea of what's gonna happen. So I think for sure, we're gonna use yellow ochre. So that I have. I'm gonna start with the primary neutrals. So the two whites for sure, Gray, I'm not sure, but let's just do it. I'm just gonna have gray. Yeah, and all right, here we go. So a little bit of gray. I am going to use chromatic black. I'm liking it more and more every time I use it, but if you don't have it, you could use one of the blacks. The warm black possibly could be, the Van Dyke brown could be a good idea. I don't think I need raw umber, but I don't know. I'm just feeling like I should have at least a little bit, if I can find it in my dirty Ziploc. So zinc white for sure. I think I'm gonna, and white as well. And I don't, yeah, it's right here. A little bit of the raw umber just in case. Ecru for sure, because sometimes the ecru can help us desaturate a color and still retain the temperature. So I have a little bit, I think that's gonna work. And so now I'm gonna go to the yellows. I have cadmium yellow light. There's a lot of red in this, and I'm gonna probably have to use orange for this. Cadmium yellow medium, I have it too, so I'm gonna bring it. It has yellow with a little bit of red pigment. I have Equality Orange. That's the color that they released last summer to support, was it Black Lives Matter? I think it was, yeah. So they just brought this orange shade. Orange is the color associated with anti-gun violence. They released this, and then, so yeah, I'm gonna bring it and see what happens. And cadmium orange, that's for sure. I think that's gonna be a good color to have. Cadmium orange. And oh yeah, I have Naples yellow. We were just talking about it the other day. I don't know if that's going to be a color that we're going to use, but yeah, I'm just going to put Naples yellow. I don't think I've used this color ever, because I just squeezed it and oil came out of it. That means that I haven't used it in a long time. So these are all my yellows. I need a red. And for that red, I'm gonna bring, I don't know if I need, I'm gonna bring cadmium red, and then we'll kind of like decide cadmium red. Okay, so I'm gonna do a lot of color studies with this, and I'm going to use a cellophane because I feel like since this is going to be a study of yellow, I want to make sure that I understand the different shades that I'm going to create, because I feel like that's going to be the key of this painting. So, but first, after the palette, I am just going to start washing. And what I'll do, I'm going to wash, I'm going to wash, actually, I'm going to use, use Naples yellow. Let's put it like that. So lots of turpentine or mineral spirits, and Naples yellow. Oh yeah, I think that's a good color because it's not super saturated. And I'm just going to block out color. I mean, I'm sorry, washing, or rather staining. Think color fields. I'm working fast. The purpose is very technical, just to create a wet layer, to prime the surface, to seal the charcoal. Yeah, even I'm just gonna do the cap, the container cap. So yeah, just this is gonna be an easy wash because I'm gonna use the same color for everything. And I'm going darker to lighter. So if you notice, I started with the areas that had more charcoal, and I let the charcoal become part of the wash. And then I'm just gonna go up here. I'm so excited about this. I love simple subjects, so I can really, what would be the verb? I can really spend time. That's not, with color mixing and values. There's something much more meditative about having time and space to create more of an exploration of color. So that's what I'm gonna do. And with a little bit of mineral spirits, and I don't care about this having a little bit of Naples yellow. In fact, I'm just gonna bring Naples yellow. How's that? I'm gonna try color harmony instead of color contrast, because the other option for a background here is to bring color harmony, to also use the palette of yellows to expand the color outside. You see, it just creates a different story. So of course, I didn't use black yet, but color harmony could bring a very subtle layer of concept to this theme. So maybe this could also be an option, because if we are talking about yellow and how the artist associates yellow with wealth and power and influence, using a material that is garbage and has a very dark history, perhaps yellow could be also a color that belongs to the background as well. It would be a different story, a different narrative, a different, a slightly different concept. But that could be another option for this assignment, you know. So I feel like there are three big things so far that I'm happy that I was able to reflect on. One that I essentially overlooked, it's the size of this, because I'm using a size that feels very balanced, and I didn't talk about, and I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that, because we had options then. I briefly touched that subject, and I went straight ahead with sketching. I could have done this completely obliterating the principle of movement in composition. And maybe you guys, it's not too late to completely change this at this point, because this jug or this container could conceptually could occupy the entire space. Going over that rule that we say, you know, be careful to make things really close to the edge, perhaps this could be important here, not to give movement of or eye movement to the viewer. Make the subject really crowd the space in a very suffocating way, as if, you know, there's no room to wander around. There's no freedom of movement. Let's kind of like bring the word also freedom in this talk. I wish, actually, I feel like I need to make more paintings of jugs, because I feel like there's so many already coming out of this concept. But that could have been a very interesting approach. Same subject, but playing with composition, taking it all the way to the edge and making it really uncomfortable, almost purposely uncomfortable. Nothing cropped, like the actual edge, completely against what we talk about, but perhaps conceptually this could be interesting. Another option is go the other way and make a tiny container right in the middle or somewhere or lower in the page, something isolated and yeah, completely isolated, and bringing the narrative of isolation, loneliness, or I don't know, that could be a different approach, a different idea. Yeah, I didn't even go there. This possibly could be like stepping a little bit away from the theme, but even playing with repetition, because we are using the concept of repetition by all of us creating an image of the same thing. But perhaps we could also include repetition within our work and maybe create one container a little bit smaller and do another one right next to it, perhaps on both ends, almost like crowding it in that way. So perhaps that could be another approach. What I love about composition is that I'm already creating with it. So just because this is like a single subject and we all have the same one, which I think conceptually it's important to pick up on the idea of repetition that he uses for his work. It doesn't mean like we don't have freedom to be creative. So we're giving options. You are welcome to scratch your progress and start anew on the same page, or to make a notation and create another painting maybe after this one, maybe a different size, who knows. But anyhow, so perfect timing actually, so good. There are a lot of things that I need to think about, but I'm happy that I am right here at this point. And so I'm done with the wash. I think that's good. And I'm going to start with the first notes. So I'm moving from color fields to color blocking. So on first notes, what we do is we build on the wet surface, and then we also have an opportunity to do several things. We study the color, number one. So this is an opportunity to actually find out the average color of each of the surfaces. We also work with the edges. So there's an opportunity here to refine, reposition, readjust the edges. And also, study the color and then work with the edges. I'm thinking there are more, but anyhow, so I am gonna go ahead and study this yellow. So this is really exciting. What I love about this subject is that to whoever we show our work, we can just say, oh, well, we did onyx, and then we did flowers, and we did clouds, and there's a self-portrait. So things feel like very classical. And then we show this, and what is this? You know, why did you paint this? So I love the fact that this is a very startling subject for someone who may just go through our portfolio and go from toasters. Even toasters are pretty. From toasters to portraits to, you know, anything. So I love that. All right, so I'm gonna use a medium brush, and then let's see how we're gonna study the color. So I'm gonna start with one yellow straight out of the tube and then apply it. And actually that's pretty good. So usually I apply a color and then I tweak the value first, making it lighter or darker, and then I tweak the temperature after. But just for the sake of what we're doing right now, I'm going to use, yeah, absolutely. So it's barely noticeable, but the cadmium yellow medium is so radically different than the cadmium yellow light. I've never painted anything this year in which this change showed so much. Because, you know, here's what happens in my mind when I went to buy cadmiums, orange, red, or yellow. Those are the three main cadmiums. And I stand in front of a shelf that has like a million colors. I think to myself that those were the early days or a while ago, not a long time ago. Okay, I need red. Okay, I need red. And I have no idea which red I'm going to get. So my thinking is that, okay, so I have more of a Goldilocks approach to this. If this is like light, medium, and deep, I'm just going to go for the medium because that's going to be in between, right? So, okay, I got the cadmium red medium and I got the yellow, cadmium yellow medium. Fine, I have yellow and red. I'm done, right? Well, you know, it just depends because as you incorporate more elements that may have that cast, there's a huge difference between the cadmium yellow medium and cadmium yellow light, obviously. Would I be able to make cadmium yellow medium the same hue as cadmium yellow light? I can tell you, no, I could not do that. The other way around, maybe. So cadmium yellow light, perhaps today, if I went into a store and I see it, would be my number one yellow, if you ask me, because I can always make it a little bit warmer by adding some red or some cadmium orange. But I cannot do it the other way around. And proof of that is that I have a cadmium red medium, and this is not the main color used in the Zorn palette. The Zorn palette was created, not invented, but created by the Swedish artist, and it had no blue, but it had the yellow, and the cadmium or the yellow that the red that he had, it wasn't a cadmium red, but the closest color to that red is cadmium red light. And I don't have it, and I should probably have it. Anyhow, I'm just gonna stop talking, and then I'm gonna apply the first color block. Remember, we go from color field to color block. And I use the medium. Sorry, I just went ahead and used the medium. I'm just gonna use the light. And I should probably, I should have started with the darker. Okay, let's kind of like scratch and follow some structure right here. I studied the yellow first. Okay, I got the yellow, fine. So let me study the darker yellow because it's a good idea to go darker to lighter. And I know that that's cadmium yellow light. Okay, so first off, cadmium yellow medium, it's very light. So I need to make it darker. So when I mix colors and I try to, I wouldn't use the word match, but when I try to make it closer, I play with value first. I'm gonna darken this yellow by using cadmium orange medium. And it's still very light. All right, what's my next step here to make it darker? I am gonna try bringing some burnt sienna. I didn't mention this color, but that's, some people consider burnt sienna a dark shade of orange. So this is part of what I'm doing during the first notes. Okay, so I think value-wise is okay, but this color needs more yellow. So let me just bring yellow ochre, actually. Let me see, and a little bit more of yellow ochre. Okay, the yellow ochre definitely helped. So that's good. So that's going to be a combination of a few yellows. Perfect. I got it. A very, very, very sophisticated color, if you ask me. Very sophisticated. I have cadmium yellow medium, cadmium orange, burnt sienna, and ochre to achieve this color that I wouldn't even know what to call it, but I want to call it turmeric because I'm obsessed with yellows now. That's after reading that article. Fantastic. I'm super excited that I'm actually studying yellows. And again, this is what this was all about, honestly, because we haven't had a chance to study yellow in a while. So again, I'm just gonna, oh, and I wanted to mention as well, you know, thinking or talking about the idea of concept is the point, not craft. And we sort of like went a step further or tried to grow a branch off of that thought. Process is also the point. Process is the point as well, because we are physically engaging with a surface and creating something. The act of creating through the process makes us formal old school painters. So concept is the point. Process, we have to find a different word for being the point, because I think concept is the point should remain that. Process is also very important. Craft, it's not the point or as important. Process is important because right now studying color, it's all about my process, our process going through this, and how we are sort of like learning about pigmentation, value, temperature, and yeah. So I'm just gonna color block. So I'm not gonna do anything right now, anything detailed. I'm not gonna go into miniature painting right now. I'm just gonna apply this 4-color formula to create this turmeric note. And then when I go to second notes later, I'll be able to create variations. But for now, I'm painting this with a color block using those 4 yellows and orange. I'm sorry, not 4 yellows. The yellow and the other 2 yellows and 2 oranges. Or orange. Yeah, I don't know. What's the plural of orange, Jen? Oranges as a color?
I guess so.
No. Yeah. So did you find any Ibrahim, and also that was it, right? And also was it Velasquez?
It wasn't. I don't think it was Velasquez.
Oh.
But I did include some of Velasquez's work just to cover my bases.
Yeah.
But what I found, let me bring up his name again, was Francisco de Zurbarán.
Oh, the Zurbarán. Yes.
I think that's the one, because it's exactly what you described.
Yeah.
And then I brought up some Velasquez, just like I said.
Okay.
And then I also brought up Cotan. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah.
Juan Sanchez Cotan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it. I'm gonna bring them.
Cool.
Really quickly. Thanks, Jen.
Sure.
Let me just first do this. Find it, and then yeah, I'm excited. I'm already seeing I'm seeing the sculpture, and I think doing this work of studying yellow, once we get there, I feel like we're gonna have a different experience with that piece by looking at all the shades.
Absolutely.
Really. Right?
I'm so excited to see it and excited to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let me just, oh, come on, seriously. Thank you, Jen. Yes.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that is really good. I'm just gonna bring the Zurbarán. We we have talked about this painting before, the arrangement of the 4 pots and the shelf. That very interesting. I mean, I think this could be a good conceptual example. This was 1636. Bodegon or Still Life with Pottery. Yeah, it's just gorgeous. Not Prado. Thank you. Yes. Diego Rodriguez de Silva y Velázquez. So that's a Velázquez. So yes. So that again, super dark background. That could be a good option to feature our golden container. That's kind of like, that's why we call this Cotan. It's Juan Sanchez Cotan. Yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, there was a trend at the time where still lifes were placed in recessed parts of the walls. So this is a good example of that, you know, almost as a Trump Doyle, as a way of like bringing this illusion of space inside of the wall and then objects on it. So perfect example. And again, this idea of super dark background that's so dramatic. You look at the melon, the soft orange on the melon is so beautiful. And this split of shadow and light here, it's just completely amazing. And the cucumber sticking out with the cast shadow. Okay, yeah, it's just nuts. Another Velasquez with a different approach. This could be also a good idea. In a way, it could be harmonious because it's not black, but it's Van Dyke Brown. The reason why we're using Van Dyke Brown is because we learned that Velasquez's favorite colors of the entire palette were his 2 blacks, Van Dyke Brown and Payne's Gray. When we heard that, we just had to test Van Dyke Brown. And then we realized that it's so amazing that we feel like at this point, it may be much more important than raw umber. We're on the process of like trying to change the color, our staple palette. And I think the raw umber maybe just go out the door and the Van Dyke Brown may stay. We don't know, but yeah, thanks. That could be a good base. Thank you so much. And then there is a painting. This is.
I think it's Ibra.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
Yeah, I think. I don't know. It was a little confusing. So on the first sculpture that you see, yes. There's a website on their white cube.
Yeah.
And this was a part of that.
Yeah.
Like part of the shows that he was a part of.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking it's attributed to him, and I just wanted to show a little something different that he did. Yeah. But I have to say I could be wrong.
Actually, I think Jen, yeah, I think that was it. But I feel maybe I'm just maybe the name is wrong. This is the. Oh no, it wasn't Ibrahim. Sorry, that is also a Ghanaian artist who does the same thing.
Right.
Yes.
But you're looking for someone else?
This person, El Anatsui.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's the first person that started. I mean, I don't know if, of course, I'm pretty sure before him, there were other people, but this is, sorry, Ibrahim is also a contemporary artist who's younger and also uses this kind of like process, but it's slightly different. But he is the grandfather of tapestry with recycled materials, if there's such a thing.
Awesome. Okay, let me see what I can find.
Yeah, and they're just so beautiful. They're so beautiful, and they're huge. And he's been shown everywhere. He's very famous for doing this. It's just like really dainty, delicate, beautiful. It's again conceptually this association with precious materials, precious metals, but in fact, he's using the remains of colonized, experience. The trash left behind, in a way. So yeah, you'll see there's some that are even more sparkly and golden. And he just moved from bottle caps to other materials. But yeah, he is the one that sorry, the Ibrahim is also, I mean, yeah, contemporary artist. And he, yeah, also these are like recycled materials. Anyhow, very interesting in that sense, but thank you. And sorry at the same time. But yeah, he's not the only one doing the assembled pieces. I mean, I just love the fact that this up close looks so rugged. And I mean, the pieces are garbage, you know, it's just kind of like plastic pieces. But then when you look at it from a distance, it's just creates this interesting, like, this is beautiful, interesting surface or tapestry. Check out the different yellows here. All right, so thanks. And that was really important and good. I'm gonna go ahead and move to the lighter. And with first notes, by the way, I should say I'm using already a thicker medium, not turpentine, because I want to create a little bit of opacity. And I'm color blocking this area. So this is fully color blocked. I'm not gonna think it twice. I'm not gonna do anything blending or anything like that. I'm truly going to apply this color block right now. And just block the entire surface, because first notes, this is actually, I'm really happy we're doing this assignment because it really breaks down, if you ask me, in a very clear way, what is staining first notes and second notes. Because we always bring the example of a banana, you know, first notes painted yellow, second notes find the highs and lows of the light. Well, using the same yellow principle, this is a good example to explain exactly what first notes are, what they do, how they help us. They build on the wash, they color block the idea, they bring a little bit of opacity so we can start building. They're not meant to be detailed. They're not meant to be, you know, recognizable even. It's just a very, I would say, technical approach, if you ask me. So we never got a response from the artist. We reached out to him because he's on Instagram, and we sent a message that we were doing this. But yeah, we never got a response. So anyhow, but yeah, maybe we'll send the paintings. So he is also known. Another thing that we learned, by the way, he came up with a term Afro-Gallonism. Afro-Gallonism is a word that he just put together to define or label the sort of like ethos of his entire project, because what he does with the containers, it's not just the tapestry, but also blanket the streets, and then create sculptures, and even add it to paintings, to portraits. In fact, he has a painted portrait. Yeah, and Afro-Gallonism is a term that defines the art created with get the yellow gallons. You know, first I thought that this was a gallon, but it's not. I think it's 25 gallons. But the idea that he had is the prefix Afro is considered. We were talking about this in our Clubhouse conversation yesterday in a different way, but using the word Afro attached to a word, it's a vestige of colonialism. It's like using the word Indian, because, you know, the continent is very diverse, but labeling an entire continent or an entire group of people with the prefix Afro, it's not appropriate. You know, it's the same thing as designating a swath of people with the word Indian. Although yesterday the conversation we had is that at least the tribe that is in actually Palm Springs, they have no problem being referred to as Indian. So it was an interesting conversation that we had. But yeah, he actually, in one of the interviews, he explains that he's using this colonizing term and also the word gallon to designate or label the actual object, and came up with the term Afro-Gallonism. And I don't know. Let me see if I can find one of the paintings. I cannot find, but he uses like scraps of plastic on top of the canvas, and then he paints a portrait. Anyhow, so I'm just going to continue, but yeah, I am going to continue. Yes, I was talking about a perfect example of illustrating what first notes means. All right, here's the thing. I cannot, I have to make a decision. I cannot just continue like that. I have to make a decision about the background. Okay. I've been putting it off, but I think now I just have to make a decision. I feel like if I use black, I won't be able to go back. So this is it. Am I using white? Am I using yellow? Am I using black? I have no idea. Jen, what do you think?
Definitely go dark, my friend.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. I think that'll be beautiful.
Okay. I'm going for it then. So let's do it. I'm just gonna use the chromatic black, actually. Should I use, let me start with the Van Dyke Brown first, because the Van Dyke Brown will allow me to maybe go a little darker. And it would be a way of playing with I'm sorry, harmony, color harmony, because it's a warm color. Okay, just gonna do a Van Dyke Brown. And then I can always darken it with the chromatic black and then create highs and lows maybe later. All right, yeah, let's just bring this Dutch Renaissance thing, perhaps. All right, yeah, every option, I think it's conceptually valid and also aesthetically strong. So definitely, yeah, I think that's going to be it. So thanks, Jen. And I'm going to start not super strong here, just so I tread on semi-solid ground. I like to be prudent and cautious when I make decisions, just so I give myself room to maneuver, pull back, change my mind. So I always try to be a little bit, I mentioned the word conservative when approaching process. And I think it could be a good way to use the word conservative. Okay, so I'm gonna continue with first notes. Perfect, first notes. And I will just block out this background right here. Maybe now, I'm just gonna bring this color underneath. So, yeah, I think that's good. If you can, Jen, because I just mentioned it, the idea of like blanketing the streets to show that people in Ghana have difficulties, or there is discrimination when they want to claim that the land they live is theirs, and apparently there's a conflict there. They cannot prove that that's their land because they're being told they're missing some paperwork. But I'm not sure exactly if that's the ins and outs. So I don't know if you can find something that explains it a little bit more than what I know. I know that it's about land ownership. I know that it's about the government saying that they don't have anything to prove that the land is theirs, and people are just like not having it.
Okay.
And that's the reason why he's covering the streets where he lives and with this tapestry. And actually, I mean, that thing is, it's not temporary, because I saw images of vehicles just riding on top of the what he calls the project, the Yellow Brick Road. Oh yeah, the Yellow Brick Road. Actually, I'm using I'm not using Van Dyke Brown. Actually, I'm using raw umber, but that's okay. Yeah. Okay, good. We'll start with this color and then see how dark we may go. But yeah, that's also interesting. Using trash, using unclaimed material, which could be a definition of trash, material that nobody wants, that it's tossed and hoping that it will disappear, that has no ownership whatsoever. And using that to claim ownership of a space, it's also a very interesting approach to what he does. I think he took the concept of older generations of artists and then infused more contemporary politics into it. Because with the work of the artists that I mentioned, I don't know how much of that has to do with what he's talking about here. He says that he wants to change his environment, his society. In one of the interviews, by the way, as I'm doing this, I'm just rambling, but he was asked about the homophobia in Ghana. I don't know why he was asked that, but it was an interesting question, and he didn't walk away from the question, because they were discussing gender and gender associations and his performance with wearing his mom's clothes. And then it is illegal still in the country, and there's a very homophobic approach to same-sex relationships. And that's one of the remains of colonial intervention that happens in a lot of societies around the world, not just in this particular country. But when either the Portuguese or the Spanish or the British or the French took ownership of a land, they imposed their own systems. And the binary gender system was something that was, the new thing, the new rule. And some of these deeply homophobic countries, they still have these laws that were introduced by the colonizing governing entities, not by their own societies. So some people in some countries, they use this argument to actually take down the laws. These are laws that don't belong to the actual native culture. And there are many examples of ancient cultures in which the binary is different. It's not a binary. There's a third sex. A lot of indigenous cultures have roles for certain, or certain, the family nucleus looks different. So there are a lot of variations that are not contemporary. So that's my point, is that I think that's the reason why the conversation went from his performance about the wearing women's clothes and going hunting for jugs wearing women's clothes, and then homophobia in the country. And yeah, and So that's another layer that I feel like the gender that I find fascinating, because traditionally when that happened in the 2000s, there were women who were tasked with the job of like go get water, and then sometimes it was like hiking, but sometimes it was just going to the neighbor who had a tap, and they would just pay the neighbor and then get the water. So it wasn't just like hiking all the time, but it was a job for the women and the families, or the family nucleus, not the man. So
I
he's trying.
watched this. Oh, sorry, Julio.
No, no, go.
I saw this film, and I want to say that it was part of. You might have seen it too, Julio. Remember when we saw you guys at the movies and we went to go see the Oscar shorts? Do you remember that, like years ago?
Yeah.
Was that the time there was a movie set in the Middle East about the women that kept destroying the well in their town? Does that ring a bell at all?
It does ring a bell.
Yeah. Okay. So I think it was one of those shorts that there was this investigation of like who's destroying the well, like, you know, this keeps happening every time we repair it, it gets destroyed again, and it turns out it was the women, because they didn't want the well in the town because they really enjoyed the time away from their husbands and their families, and their like camaraderie with the other women, and being able to talk with them and spend time with them, to go get the water. Okay, so the town built some sort of, like, I don't know if you can build a well, but I mean that.
Oh, so they okay.
So the town built or some sort of way of receiving water more easily to the entire town, and it kept getting destroyed or dismantled.
Oh my gosh.
And it was this huge deal of like, you know, who could be doing this, what's happening, and it turns out it was the women of the town, because they didn't want an easier way to have water come to the town. They enjoyed the time away, to walk with their friends, the time away from their husbands and their kids and all their responsibilities, just to go get the water. It was really their time that they could
talk I remember
and
now.
Gossip and it just reminded me of that, of like, I wonder how much the women in Ghana like wanted, you know, to go on that hike.
Right.
I tell you what, with 2020, I've never enjoyed a hike more.
That is so amazing. Thanks for bringing that up. I would totally get away. My gosh, absolutely. Right? Just give me a couple of hours away from whatever. You know?
Seriously. It just reminded me of that film.
That's so interesting. That is another layer. I mean, it's just very interesting because, you know, of course, the way he exposes it is almost like some sort of like inequality here, but I don't know. I just feel like that's a different layer. Yeah.
Right.
What was the name? I think that went far. That documentary wasn't just a short. I think it just was nominated.
It was one of the Oscar nominees. And it was scripted. So it was a scripted scripted short, but it, you know, I'm pretty certain has some base in reality, you know. Cool. I'll look it up.
Yeah. I think that would be amazing.
See if I can remember it all.
Thanks for bringing it up. Cool. All right. Perfect. Thank you. Yes. And I'm just going to bring up that I'm starting second notes at 12:20, which gives me 40 minutes. Yeah. Of second notes. So in a way, I love that this is happening because we have this perception, oh, it's easy. What, kind of like silly painting a jug? Oh, come on. I could do that in like no time. Well, it's not as simple. It's not as simple. And even though we can maybe group and simplify a few shades, there's a lot going on that I feel like I'm going to have to spend some time. So I'm not unhappy that I'm barely studying second notes right now. So I'm going to have a strategy here. I'm not going to try to achieve as much as possible with the next 40 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow more of a linear progression, which means that I'm going to decide the areas that I'm going to work for first. And then I'll just keep an eye to the time and see where I finish. But I'm telling you, I anticipate already that this is going to take me much more than one single session. So, and I love that, actually. I love that. So I'm going to be very um, traditional in the sense that I'm going to go from darker to lighter. So I'm going to see if I can just do some work on this umbra. And then I'm going to go to the cap just because it's smaller. It's darker and smaller. And I feel like I could do that. And then I'm going to go to the darker side of, I don't think I'm going to have time for that, but I'm going to try the darker side to create highs and lows. And then the lighter side in the end. And then I'll have the background. So staining, color fields, first notes, color blocking, second notes, we bring the word pixelation. So second notes, there's a little bit more blending going on, but still we are moving the painting forward by bringing like color samples, pixelation color samples that are contributing to the variation of color and light within a single color block. So I'm not introducing new colors. I'm not adding a new palette. I'm not repainting things. I am bringing variations of the same color to create the illusion of a surface or a texture or a light direction, because this is not flat the way I did it. There's a lot of things going on. There's a little bit of lightness on top. And this is a nice progression because when I see these on the first 5 minutes, I only see two colors. Yeah, I only see two colors. Let me just say 1 second. Okay, perfect. Sorry. But as I spend time with it, observation is so good in what we're doing right now. Observation, I realize that's not the case. I start to see other colors. So I realize that there's a little bit of a form underneath that makes this like a little bit darker than the top. I see a lot of white on top. So I think that's going to be a different yellow. The yellow here is a little bit more pale. The indentations or the crevices have like their own thing going on. So I have to incorporate that. So it's easier to tackle second notes when you've spent time going through the process of building some sort of foundation than to make decisions right off the bat. And I think that's the reason why it's not usually a good idea to start painting right away, if you ask me, or use like very saturated colors, because you need some time for your eye and your brain to get acclimated and really hone in those nuanced changes in temperature that are so rich and so amazing that our eye may not be able to see at the very beginning. All right, I'm going to continue and I'm going to use a small brush and I'm going to go darker to lighter, and perhaps I'm going to use a little bit of umber right here, and then I will try to darken this. Yeah, a little bit of darker notes. So here we go. And I feel sometimes to darken the red, it's better to use or to bring alizarin crimson than to just bring black. Because if you bring black, the red's just gonna have more of a muted pigmentation. So I'm just gonna bring alizarin crimson. Oh, night and day. And I'm just gonna continue. I love the fact that the edges on the file, the photo file, they're blurry because it's a small file. So I'm gonna play with that. I feel like, not everything needs to be almost like illustration-like. I could allow myself to perhaps disintegrate a little bit of that edge. I'm going to give it a try, but for now, I'm just playing with pinks and different shades and kind of like spending some time. I was like reading or listening a podcast the other day about the importance, or no, there was a discussion about we have a tendency, or someone brought up the idea of being addicted to thought, in the sense that we allow our minds to take over everything, and it's a way of feeling detached from our bodies, and our minds, in a way, there's like a regime of the mind. So I'm bringing this up because the podcast tried to provide tools in order to feel more present physically with our bodies, and not to allow our minds to take control of the entire experience. So it was beautiful. There were examples on how to take perspective, how to quiet the noise of the mind, again, through the breath and stuff like that. But also, it reminded me that one of the reasons why what we're doing right now, feels so good is because we are being present with our bodies. I mean, the idea of process being important is because we are actually engaging in something physical that makes us realize that we are present and alive in our bodies. And I know this may not be related to the actual subject, but I just wanted to bring it up because I feel like it's important to make a point about how good it is to be engaged physically with a process like painting. And ultimately, it reinforces the idea that concept is the point, process is important, but the craft, it's not the point or important. So rather than just thinking this looks like crap or this looks like whatever, I just love the fact that I'm right now present in a physical way, going through a process. Anyhow, I just brought this up because I think it's important, and I feel like we can have more of a healthy approach without using drugs, just like painting. We were just discussing this. Yeah, this idea. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna bring that up. As a matter of fact, I think that's just gonna be good. But before I just bring the few articles about overthinking and stuff like that, being in our heads, worrying, letting our mind take sort of like hold of the entire experience, I'm just gonna concentrate on this aspect. So sometimes squinting our eyes can give us an idea of variations. Remember, I am currently doing second notes, and what I'm interested in right now is in finding variations within the same color. I did first notes with red, but now this red is not the same. So I'm gonna also start using, the other day I heard an artist refer to the old brushes in a different way, and I was laughing. So the news is that we're not the only ones who love our old hairy guys. A lot of professional painters, they keep their old brushes, and this particular painter referred to the old brushes as his troll brushes. The troll, the troll toys, the little tiny, I don't even know why that exists, talking about garbage. But there was a point, there's a movie, there's a movie, right, Jen? I mean, the trolls, people are like obsessed with the troll doll.
Yeah, there's 2 movies.
The what?
There's 2.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, the troll dolls, So someone referred to the old brushes as his own personal like troll dolls. Like he would love, referring to the hair of the troll doll and the old brush. And it just thought it was a good analogy. Anyhow, so I'm using one of the old brushes and I'm trying to soften some of the pixelation. Remember, I used the word pixelation for this stage. So I'm just softening some of the pixelation. So it feels a little bit less. Yeah, it's a dry brush. So I just want to make sure that it's not super, that I don't carry the pigment too far away. Yeah, I think that's good. That's a very good. I love the fact that I don't have that much definition. I'm gonna bring some zinc white. Remember, zinc white is a very good white to create transparency and glazes without affecting pigmentation of the color. So just bringing a little bit more of a, I wonder if there's any artist who paints with actual troll dolls. Imagine, that could be a good performance. I want to try it. Jen, any troll dolls in your neck of the woods?
No.
No. Was it something that Henry used or played with before?
No.
No.
Never played with. But I remember, okay, so when he was younger when the first Trolls movie came out, and he I think had to leave the movie, or I don't know if we were watching it at home, but I wasn't with him. But he was scared by it.
He was scared.
So he never finished watching the first one. I wasn't there, so I can't remember exactly what happened.
Right.
But then by the time the second one came out, he was okay with it. He felt like he could handle it. And it's a very, very different movie, evidently, than the first one. But I think we saw it at a drive-in. Or no, sorry. The second Trolls movie, you guys, was when it was supposed to be released, but then the pandemic happened, and so it was one of the first movies to be released on like our televisions.
Oh, I see, yeah.
And so like I remember we did it, and then a bunch of our friends bought it. It was, I think, like $25 or something. And so we watched it at home, and then that's right after that is when the drive-ins kind of started to pop up. And the Trolls movie was a big drive-in movie. But by that point, we'd already seen it. So then we went back and watched the first one. And that one's actually really great. The first Trolls movie is pretty great. Cool. Yeah. But you know how I feel about JT, so.
About
Justin Timberlake.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's a big part of it. So.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Well, anyhow, maybe we should one day when we go truly bananas, we're gonna paint with troll dolls.
Good.
I think that could be the next. Watch out, you guys. Maybe that's gonna be an assignment at some point when we run out of ideas.
Love it.
Okay, so I'm really happy about the cap. I think that's good. I'm gonna now move to the bottom. So what I did was, in addition to bringing some pixelation, some variations, I also worked from the outside in, because it's a good idea to consider the edges. So I mentioned the first notes, study the color, and then just define or refine the edges, or I would say define the edges. In second notes, I would say, create variations of the color, but then I'm going to use the word refine the edges. So maybe first notes, we could just define them. And in second notes, we could refine them. So that's what I've been doing by using color from outside. I've been reshaping this cap. I think that's okay. I feel like I want to mess it up a little bit more because I don't want it to be extremely contained or feel like or feel like it's segregated or colored or yeah. So anyhow, I'm just gonna continue and just go to the umbra. And for the umbra, I'm gonna use chromatic black because I want something darker than the raw umber, and I think this could do the trick. Okay, so just remember, craft is not the point, and it's not important. You know, it's a vehicle, and I feel like for me, just defining this as a vehicle releases pressure to expect that I'm able to control the vehicle, that I'm able to completely dominate it, tame it, and then do amazing things with it. You know, I'm not, no, that's not the point. So I think to me, that's important. And it's important to see other people's examples of paintings and realize that that's a vehicle. They actually, some people don't really care how good the painting is or whatever, you know, realistic it is. They're just interested in using that vehicle to express an idea of, visually. So yeah, I'm just continuing with the umbra. I think that's good, actually. It just grounds it. So it gives an idea of this being an actual space. It reminds me of, oh, this could be a good connection. What's the name of that painter? Celia, the one that did the radiator, the heater. Celia something. Jenkins? No. Celia, I think it was Celia. The heat radiator. It wasn't Celia, because Sila, I'll find out. Gila. Okay, I'll leave it up to you. I didn't. So Jen, yeah. She painted the radiator, the heater in her studio. And then she did paintings of the surface of water, highly realistic. But this reminds me of her radiator painting. I think she's currently based in San Francisco. She's a contemporary artist, and then she had a show in the Museum of Art there, retrospective. I'm gonna do the penumbra, a little bit of the penumbra. I just love the fact that it's a little bit darker. So I think that slight darkness could and maybe what I'll do also is I'm gonna bring some of the ecru mixed with the umber, and this area could be a little bit lighter. So I'm playing with a peripheral area, not with a focal point. And I love to do that because sometimes we kind of like give too much importance to the focal point. So I'm just gonna bring, well, yeah, that's a lot of ecru, but I'll blend it. Yeah, I think that makes a huge difference without painting anything inside of the focal point. I'm able to create an illusion of volume and light direction. And I think those are the things about painting that really, really make me happy and put a smile on my face, make the process really enjoyable. These little tiny changes. So yeah, I just brought a little bit of a highlight here. Maybe this could be a little bit darker, but I think so yeah, that's very good. So actually I have time to start tackling the shadows, which would be a good example because, you know, that would put us, yeah, it could be a good example. All right, so, and then the reason why I'm doing this, by the way, it's because I decided to go darker to lighter. So darker to lighter, first this, then the slight shadows underneath with certain variations. I'm actually happy. This is not bad. So that's good. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and continue with the indentations. That's the scary part, right? You know, kind of like go there. How do we do this? I'm gonna have to study the color because they said that we have 4 shades. So let me bring the shades again. Yellow, cadmium yellow medium, cadmium orange, burnt sienna, and yellow ochre. And then I'm just gonna do, this is actually pretty dark. Maybe I'll just add a little bit of the raw umber. Yeah, I think that's better. That's too dark. No, it's not better. That's too dark. So I'm just gonna bring it back with some, I lost it. I lost it. So maybe just some orange. Let me see if I can just bring it back. It was a little bit too dark. Okay, that's I just brought it back with a cadmium orange. So good. This is so good. So important to kind of like go over this and then study it and make changes and move the needle of the color. Remember, blend on your palette. Don't blend too much on the painting. We blend too much on the painting. We do all this like crazy stirring. We stir the oatmeal on the painting. All right, so I'm just making this darker. It's not super dark, but I can make it darker later. And one step at a time. One step at a time. We're always moving forward. There's no, nothing we cannot do. So I'm just getting the structure of this. Maybe a little bit darker here. I could go a little bit darker. That's a lot darker. So let me just see. So it's harder to make things darker when you have a lighter color underneath. So I'm having a little bit of a challenge making the indentation on the container. Okay, yeah. So at the same time, I feel like I want to bring the lighter yellow. I'm gonna bring the lighter yellow. And this could be a good idea to add on top. Just because this yellow, it's lighter, and then I'm using a small brush and a little bit more of softer pressure. Yeah. Okay. I love it.
Friend, I cannot find this radiator painting.
Oh, yeah. Vila, I think it was Vija. Villa, yeah, it's pronounced Vija Semmings, I think. Maybe like my browser has a lot of yeah, Vija, Viga, Celmins, CELMINS, and it's titled Heater.
Say it again. Say that. Spell her last name again, please.
CEL. M-I-N-S.
Heater.
Villa Selmins. Yeah. Oops. Yeah. So I am just.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna continue with the yellow, cadmium yellow light, and just bringing a little bit of the lighter. This is taking shape, so slowly the lighter. So it's easier to add lighter paint over darker, and this is a good example or good practice, than the other way around. But it's not impossible to make it the other way around. So don't feel like, you can't continue working, because you may have like a lot of light yellow, and then you actually want to make it lighter, but you can't. There are ways of doing it. You could remove some of the oily layers and then redo it again. So I never find that it's impossible. Okay, so I'm just gonna continue, and I'm concentrated on this like spot. And I realize that here there is a little bit of a yellow. Okay, that is that, yes. So I'm gonna bring some of this yellow, and it's a little warmer. So I'm just gonna bring this down a little warmer. Possibly I should just focus on the darker area. But I'm gonna bring a little bit of the yellow, cadmium yellow medium at the bottom of the container, just right here. Yep, I think that is good. So what's happening here? Something's not clear. So this yellow goes higher. Okay, that's what's happening. So I'm just gonna bring the yellow upward. And at the same time, thinking of process, I just love to disengage from my mind in a way. I'm making decisions. It's not like my mind is shut. So, but going back to this idea of being present and feeling alive. And I'm sorry to kind of like go on the corny side, but painting makes me feel I'm alive, like physically I am present. So it gives me a lot of joy. I just feel like it's really good from the point of view of, from a mental health point of view. So I think that was it. So yeah, I just brought this. Perhaps I need to, with the medium brush, I need to blend the edges of this on this end. So complex right now. I really appreciate. It's a bad photo. It's a small file. It's blurry, but there's so much going on that I can now appreciate it. Yeah, I'm so happy about these edges, but I just barely made a dent on the jug. But it's coming along. I think I'm not unhappy. I think that's very good. So I'm just gonna continue, and maybe what I should do is I should bring some lighter yellow on this side since I see it. So I'm gonna lighten this up. It's easier to lighten up than it is to make darker when you have pigment underneath. Just know that when you paint with oil. Yeah, every brushstroke counts. Every application of color will make a change on the overall painting. So that's why I like to plant one stroke or a couple, step back, if you're standing up, it's good to step back. My way of stepping back with the situation that I have here with things is to look at the screen, because the screen shows me a smaller version of the painting, and I'm able to see how my brush strokes actually affect. Yeah. A little bit lighter here. So I'm just gonna bring some lighter yellow on this other side. Yeah, I feel like I'm painting an abstract painting in a way. Abstraction is not just about pouring. Pouring, that's another trend that honestly, I think it just horrifies me. And forgive me if you have attended a pouring workshop, because I totally respect you and I still love you. But these pouring workshops, they just kill me. Yeah, I just can't.
I mean, pouring, what is that, Leo?
So pouring, it's like a new trend. So you take a class and essentially you are giving a bunch of paint containers of acrylic, and then a surface. And then what you do is you pour the paint, and then you move the format, the painting surface, and it just creates colorful effects. You let it drip, and it sounds amazing, and it's a lot of fun. And it's a thing. So you can go to a pouring class. I don't even know. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a lot to learn, but I look down at pouring. I'm sorry.
I hear you. I hear that. For sure.
No. But I think it's I mean, I need to revisit my feelings about it, because it's more about me than the actual pouring. But yeah, abstraction is not just that. You could create abstraction with a very dainty brushstroke, for example. And I feel like that's what I'm doing. I'm just I'm trying to create a rich variation of color within a surface.
Leo, you know how I love my HGTV shows and all of my home design shows. So there's this one that I watch, and it's called like 1 Week to Sell. And so this team goes in and they take a house that's been on the market for a while and it can't sell, and they go in and they stage it, but they do like above and beyond staging. Wow. And they have like an art team that comes in and they make art. They make art for the space in like 1 week's time as well. But you watch these 20-year-olds making these paintings, and this one woman, she looked at the camera and she was like, everyone thinks that contemporary art is so easy, or like not contemporary art, but
yeah, abstract art, modern art.
Thank you, abstract. Yes, hello. Abstract art is easy, that you just put some lines on a piece of paper and it's all good. And she's like, but it is so hard. It's so hard. And I was so reminded of you, and I was reminded too of Laura, who I know is on right now, and her saying the same thing, that you just assume that that's easier than figurative, but it is so difficult.
Yeah. True. Thanks for sharing that, because it's absolutely true. It's much more difficult. Yeah. To create, I mean, you really need to have like a very strong knowledge of the visual elements. You really need to study composition. You really need to study like color theory. You need to also have a deep understanding of art history, because that contributes to a better criteria, and it kind of like elevates your taste level.
because I feel like abstract art, I mean, of course, talking about generalizing everything, but I feel like the taste level, it's also part of the equation. It's not just, and being able to use visual tools to create something tastefully appealing. It's not easy when you don't have a reference, because you're creating essentially from scratch. So yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, it is, very difficult. Because it's not based on simple observation. So there's something that I find really grounding about what we do, that I don't have to, open up that chapter. I enjoy like the act of translating. I like the visual approach to creating by observing. It's a different approach, obviously, but yeah. With abstraction, then you are painting from memory, or you're painting from, a different place. You're not using observation. You're using observation in a different way, because you have a different kind of references, but you have to have a very strong knowledge of the visual elements, and very strong art history knowledge. I just think that, seeing other abstract art and analyzing it and seeing how people do it, that eventually gets you to a point where you may find a very solid criteria to create. But yeah, it's not easy. I am just continuing. I'm happy with this slightly blended high and low. I added some, I feel like I need to touch the edges. They're too perfect. There's something about things in shadows versus things that receive light, that creates an idea of disintegration. So this area right here being in the shadows, I feel like I need to exaggerate this. I'm going to exaggerate even the edges of the actual physical object. I'm just going to make it a little, so absolutely. It's just amazing how sometimes we have to come up with tricks to amplify the magic on our paintings, because it's not as clear. I mean, I see this edge and I see that edge, and they're exactly the same. But this was sort of like an interpretation of how can I do this a little bit more dramatic, or kind of like theatrical. I think that's also a very important word. And things under shadow, they're not as defined as things that reflect light. So use that principle and test it on your painting and see if that may give you a little bit more drama, a little bit more theatrics. And I feel it does. Yeah, I'm so happy. So I'm just going to bring more continuity. For example, now I'm going to dedicate, we're going to work for 5 more minutes. We're going to stop at 5 minutes after the hour, the second hour. And then we'll just get ready for our sharing and critique and stuff and questions. But my final approach will be to create more of an even background, because I only put the first notes on the background. I didn't really build it. But I feel like I need to, this may be black by Wednesday, but for now I'm just going to use raw umber. I feel like it's dark, but it still has color. Yeah. So notice the difference between something a little bit more patchy on the first approach, and I'm slowly building more of an even, soft, I would say, I would use the word even in the sense that it doesn't feel as much brushstroke. although I'm using a very hard bristle brush and I shouldn't. I should use a troll doll brush. I'm obsessed now with troll doll. I never liked that. I mean, I don't know. I was never even, of course, these are recent toys, but I like toys, and those were like, I don't know. I never understood the point, but that it's just telling that I'm getting older. So I should just reflect on that and appreciate the amazing contribution to culture that the troll dolls gave us. What a gift. Troll dolls, my gosh, who is going to do the first thesis, PhD book about the importance of troll dolls in Western culture?
Okay, friend, I just looked it up because I was like, I had troll dolls when I was like a kid. I didn't have them, but they were in the world when I was a kid. I just looked up when they were created. Take a guess when troll dolls were created.
I was thinking like, the 90s.
Me too. I was thinking the 90s.
Yeah.
Are you ready? 1959.
Stop.
The toys were also known as good luck trolls or gonk trolls in the UK. The dolls were first created in 1959 and became one of the United States' biggest toy fads in the early 1960s.
Oh my gosh. No idea. I would have never, I thought it was kind of like a new thing.
Me too. I want to see if I can find what an original one looks like.
I'm sorry?
Sorry, I want to see if I can find an original troll doll.
Yes.
I mean, what they look like.
We're just gonna have to buy vintage ones and sit on them until they're probably worth millions, I guess. I don't know. Now I can like.
I know. Although I looked up how much an original is worth, and it's between $25 and $200. So maybe we don't invest.
Right. Yeah. Let's just maybe we should just buy original potato heads or something. Who knows?
There you
go. Perfect. Okay, so I'm just gonna take this last couple of minutes to just say that I am having so much fun with this assignment, and I'm really truly enjoying the process. I feel like this has given me an opportunity to explore possibilities and also to really study color in a more relaxed way. So actually not having to rush through details or elements. I don't have to think about visual planes as much. So I feel like I'm really engaged and apart from the conceptual aspect of it, but I just and I think it's a cool painting. I like what it looks like, how it looks like right now. But I'm just going to continue working on this later and during the encore on Monday, and then Wednesday and Thursday possibly. Although I have so many paintings that I want to work on that I think I'm going to start splitting my time, 1 hour with one painting, the second hour with another painting. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we did. This was a really good assignment and break, and gave us an opportunity to talk about art history, and politics, geopolitics, I guess, and other stuff. Troll dolls. So we're gonna take a break, and we're gonna reconvene at 1:10 or 10 minutes. 1:15. 1:15. I'm gonna stop the recording, so the second half won't be recorded. And please take photos. No, don't work. Use the restroom, drink some water, because when our bodies are present and we are really physical, then we forget about our needs, I guess. So use the restroom, drink water, have something to eat if you have time, because 10 minutes just like evaporate. And then at 1:15, we can just gather and then upload the images. I'm gonna upload this one and see what your experience was and how you feel about it. And all right, so we'll see you at 1:15.